There's a very famous story that every user in South Korea has heard before. The undefeated legends, the top dungeon raiders, and other such nicknames were used to praise a powerful ranker guild that cleared the most notorious dungeons with ingenious strategies. The living legends, the guild called Yonhong, was the star of that story. But the reason they're still talked about today isn't because of their heroic tales or accomplishments. It's because of the worst dungeon accident in history, Yonhong's destruction. And because of Seo Dawon, the guild master who stood in the center of all of the controversies. After his death, a slew of crimes and corrupt activities were revealed. It made headlines for a while. Don't tell me you actually believe all of that. Seo Dawon whispered to Choi Yi-kyung while he was reading an article on his phone. Because of it, Yi-kyung was startled and let go of his phone. He flopped on the ground as he was scared of the sudden appearance of Dawon's spirit. He was irritated with Dawon as he already told him not to pop up instantly without his awareness. But then, Dawon is blaming him for reading old articles about Yonhong's destruction and not paying attention to him. Yi-kyung was more annoyed when Dawon asked him if he made his heart race. He then raised and told Dawon not to joke about it with him anymore. I only said it because it was a joke. Isn't that right, Lackey? Dawon stated. He was referring to the skeleton behind Yi-kyung. The skeleton glared at him and became angry as he doesn't want to be called Lackey because Yi-kyung named him Lackey. He wanted to attack Dawon but Dawon kept evading. Yi-kyung looked at the article again and was thinking that the article written is not completely wrong. He agreed that Dawon's personality isn't that great. He forgets about it and puts back his phone in his pocket. In any case, back when Dawon was alive, he was quite an amazing user in many different ways. Sage of the Arcane Tower, Legendary Mage, Dragon Slayer, and many more. He was the topic of all sorts of gossip, and he was a top ranker with many titles. While Choi Yi-kyung is the person who has Seo Dawon as his servant. On this day, while Yi-kyung's skeleton is riding on his back, people gossip about them. 3 young men are whispering about Yi-kyung and Yi-kyung glares at them. They laughed together as they knew that Yi-kyung together with a skeleton meant he's the worst job. Yi-kyung sighed as he agreed to them. He is the weakest level, that's why everyone makes fun of him. Because of it, he was having a hard time joining any parties as he is a necromancer. How did they know about Yi-kyung being weak? I thought I was the only one who knew that. Dawon suddenly said, which made Yi-kyung mad. Yi-kyung was pushing him away and he wanted Dawon to stay away from him. Everyone heard and saw that he was talking alone by himself, so they thought that he was insane. He was annoyed to think that Dawon makes his life hard. Normally, other people can see ordinary minions and servants. However, they're bound by a special kind of contract, so that's why Yi-kyung is the only one who can see Seo Dawon at the moment. Yi-kyung told Dawon not to talk to him when they were outside because he senses it himself that everyone stared at him like a weirdo. Who told you to react like that? You can just ignore me. Dawon answered, and despite that Yi-kyung was annoyed, he was holding himself not reacting so much. Suddenly, Dawon called him a foolish person, which confused him. Dawon steps closer to him and according to him, Yi-kyung has him as a servant, and Yi-kyung's only order is not to talk with each other publicly. Dawon grabbed Yi-kyung's hand and rubbed his finger while he advised Yi-kyung to use his pawn to the best of his abilities. He moved closer to Yi-kyung and squeezed his finger. It's troublesome for me too. The master that I have a contract with is so easily swayed by other people, Dawon said. He was pushing Yi-kyung's hand and politely asked him to stop squirming and worrying about what other people think. He whispered to Yi-kyung by saying that it was time for him to be concerned about his own safety. He was holding Yi-kyung's back and Yi-kyung thought that Dawon would kiss him. But then, Dawon stopped and made fun of him again. He laughed so hard causing Yi-kyung to be annoyed. Dawon goes back to being serious and tells him to be alert every time. He raised his hand and reminded Yi-kyung that they both agreed to a contract for the sake of their goals. Yi-kyung becomes speechless and all he does is to squeeze his hand. Even though he's a rookie user, he managed to make a contract with Seo Dawon. And it all started with the incident a while back. Before he got a contract with Dawon, Yi-kyung was in a place where there was a huge screen above the building and there was a man who was interviewed by a journalist. According to him, catastrophe was bound to happen one day. While they are in the dungeon, he said that he has tried to stop Dawon from going deeper, but Dawon was adamant. Dawon acknowledged the dangers and continued with the hardcore route. By the time they noticed the trap, it was too late. He said that everyone mourned the accident. It was the most shocking dungeon accident in history. Everyone stopped from walking and focused on listening to him being interviewed. He said that a player named Roggy who stood at the front, facing the boss, was quickly taken down. Even Yi-kyung was seriously listening during the interview. He also believes that what happened is really shocking. While he was listening, something was squirming in his bag. It was the skeleton who suddenly came out like a superhero. Lee-kyung rattled and immediately pushed the skeleton back to his bag, but the skeleton didn't want to follow him. The man that was being interviewed spoke again and said that the rest of their guild members continued to struggle and only he is the priest in the party. If only he hadn't ended up losing consciousness, he was very sure that everyone had returned safely. While Lee-kyung is watching the news, he feels pity for the man as he was thinking that this player went through something so terrible and has to keep being broadcasted on TV. He was guessing that this player doesn't have a choice since he's a ranker user. Lee-kyung's phone suddenly rang. There was a message who instructed him to see each other at the NC11 among the banners. The mysterious gate suddenly appeared one day. The gate is a system just like a game, and it ushered the world into a new era. People could hunt the monsters that resided in the dungeons beyond the gate, and only the users were given the right to hunt them. The loot that was gained after raiding a dungeon turned into treasure in the real world. Considering the rarity and value of those items, a user became a sort of dream job. And among those users, there were even fewer who were particularly strong. The player who was broadcasted on TV is the ranker player of Tower Spirit, Beeman. He did experience something tragic, but Lee-kyung still envies him. Because, even if an opportunity came to someone like him, he wouldn't be able to do anything. 3 years after the passing of the incident, and the prohibited dungeon will open again. The journalist then asked Beeman about what significance the Tower of Spirits rerun has to him. The journalist and even the people inside the studio are seriously waiting for his answer. As per Yemen, as the youngest and sole survivor of his team, he would like to retrieve the bodies of his teammates. He believes that this is the only way he can repay the generosity of their guild members who are likely family to him. He closed his eyes as he was sad remembering his teammates. He most likely put down the baggage that he had been carrying with him. Meanwhile, Lee-kyung arrived at NC11. A man with red hair, wearing a green jacket and is looking at Lee-kyung with a wide smile on his face is the one who ordered Lee-kyung in this area. He was live streaming at this point and Lee-kyung then approached him immediately. The man called out the attention of everyone. He grabbed Lee-kyung to his live stream and introduced to everyone that Lee-kyung will be the last member of their team. The Tower of Spirits is finally being opened after 3 years. The long-awaited first raid, and their team is ready to set out on their journey. Everyone from behind is cheering at them. The man is holding Lee-kyung's shoulder tightly and he was sure that everyone knew about the opening of the Tower of Spirits. Today, we'll be carrying Necromancer on stream, the man uttered. And as expected, everyone in the comments section is making fun of Lee-kyung's job as a Necromancer. The man glared at him and squeezed his shoulder while ordering him to say something. "Thank you for carrying me when you're all busy," Lee-kyung immediately said in front of the camera. But the real thing is, he was carried by this team because he paid them. This man with red hair is the popular dungeon streamer Kim Sung-woon, aka BJ Berserker. As he just said, Lee-kyung come here with them to get carried. Because Necromancer skills are known as weird and totally useless. When BJ told it to his stream, Lee-kyung felt like he was stabbed in the chest. He was annoyed by how mean BJ is from saying out loud about how useless a Necromancer is. Ally of darkness and night. One-man army. The skill names are so obnoxious, and they sound like the names of emo band songs, BJ said and chuckled. For him, Necromancers are weak for having pointless skills which they need to be spoon-fed. While listening to him, Lee-kyung feels annoyed and clenches his fist, but he cannot do anything other than act naturally. There was a man who recorded Lee-kyung. He even ordered Lee-kyung to pose on the camera. Even in the comments section, people continued making fun of Lee-kyung for having the worst job. As expected, you're popular with our hidden card, Mr. Necromancer, BJ said and Lee-kyung fakely laughed. He knows that there's nothing he can do for now. He just has to endure this treatment. It's all thanks to you, Berserker. I hope you'll take care of me in the dungeon. He answered while he was clapping. He chose the job of Necromancer for a simple reason. As a Necromancer, he will be the comrade of the dead and wandering souls. At that time, he really feels that being a Necromancer is cool. Warriors are too common. Alchemists are crafters, so he doesn't find the job interesting. He finally earned the chance, that's why he decided to choose something that interests him. He didn't know anything back then. He had no idea that Necromancers are so weak that it would be hard for him to find a party, and that the Necromancer's job is the crappiest one of them all. Memories of the past years flashed through his head. If he could go back 1 year in time, he would change his mind. While he was screaming in annoyance, his skeleton lackey is squeezing him. The skeleton was emotional and Lee-kyung patted his head. The only thing he has left is the skeleton servant, Lackey. He doesn't know what he should do without this skeleton. While he was hugging Lackey, he overheard on the phone that BJ is going to the Tower of Spirits. He grabbed his phone and opened the Tower of Spirits loot list. But then, all the items on the list are the items he has never seen before. One item catches his attention, and that is the Fluid of Tainted Darkness. Upon seeing it, he knew from the very start that he needed this item. He checked Lackey's status window and confirmed that this item is an enhancement material dropped from the Tower of Spirits. He gulped and realized that it is the reason why he couldn't find the item in the marketplace. He knows that if he has this item, he will become stronger because of the protection of his skeleton. He goes back to watching BJ's live stream, and according to him, most of the items from the tower can't be traded. Lee-kyung was shocked upon hearing it because when he checked it on his account, it says that the item trade is prohibited. After he learned about it, he was thinking of a way to enter the Tower of Spirits. That time, he cannot even go anywhere near the entrance of the Tower of Spirits. If the item cannot be traded, there's no way for him to enhance anything. He clenched his blanket as he started losing hope. But he believes that if he could just get his hands on that material, even if he has the worst job, he might have a chance of becoming a little bit stronger and not worrying about things. If that happens, people may not look down on him ever again. As he becomes emotional thinking about it, Lackey feels his sadness. He told Lackey not to worry, and he even promised that he will surely get the item. Going back to the present time, he badly wanted to enter the Tower of Spirits using any method possible. There was a man who announced that everyone entering the Tower of Spirits should gather in front of the gate. Lee-kyung calmed himself and stopped worrying about anything. He then walked to the gate, and he was determined to enter the tower. He doesn't want to sit back and do nothing anymore. When they arrived at the gate, BJ was shouting at the guard since the guard told them not to bring filming equipment inside the Tower of Spirits. Lee-kyung even witnessed BJ forcing the guard. Lee-kyung doesn't really care about the stream, but he was thinking that BJ might quit just because he's already upset. He has put in so much effort into hyping the opening of the Tower of Spirits, and it ended up like this. His cameraman calmed him down, but then BJ can't calm down because the guard didn't give him a valid reason. His cameraman then told him that he heard something from another party. Apparently, B-Eman's party filed a complaint saying that their route might overlap with another group's. All the other parties are panicking about it too, but they cannot do anything and just accept the rules. BJ grits his teeth while thinking about why B-Eman is interfering with the normal route when he's not going to take it and will go to take the hardcore route. In his mind, he cannot turn back since he already took Lee-kyung's money. A few days ago, Lee-kyung offered him a token of admiration in exchange for bringing him inside the tower. He sighed as he was disappointed that his streaming today was already ruined because of the rules. He decided to go in without streaming, so his cameraman turned off the video. Lee-kyung heard his decision, and he even demanded Lee-kyung to write a good review about him on the user ratings. He then turned while ordering Lee-kyung to follow him. Lee-kyung, on the other hand, was irritated at how BJ treated him like trash. But then, imagining getting the item he wanted to win makes him feel motivated to keep going. He then ran and followed BJ with excitement. The organizer was holding a megaphone and informed all the parties who have finished turning in their broadcasting equipment may begin preparing to enter the Tower of Spirits. A portal was in front of everyone, and a flash appeared as it opened. Lee-kyung was too serious looking at the beaming portal while he was holding Lackey. The window then appeared in front of all the players. Even Lee-kyung was mesmerized by it. On the window, it showed a quest, scenarios 1 to 30. The Tower of Spirits scenario will now begin. Everyone is already inside the tower, and the ground is suddenly shaking, causing the tower to be crumpled. There was also water that instantly splashed, and a warning to everyone that Io, the master of the trap room, is beginning his attack. A sea monster comes out, and Io, the master of the trap room, is riding above it. Everyone started attacking it, but then it was too tough. Even BJ was annoyed that the first room was very difficult even though it was just a normal route. Lee-kyung feels frightened, and he believes that this room is tougher than everyone expected. The sea monster roared, and Lee-kyung was scared while confused if they would die once they cannot clear this dungeon. He was hugging Lackey and was running away. He decided to get out of the way for now, but then he saw BJ, who was fearlessly standing in front of the sea monster while holding his sword. A warning alerted that Io uses the skill Fear, causing BJ to tremble. He was irritated as he believed that it was cheating. Io wheezes while his eyes are flaming. Io rises and is going to attack BJ using a whip. At this point, BJ closes his eyes and grits his teeth because of fear. Lee-kyung saw that Io was going to attack BJ, so he ran towards BJ as fast as he could and pushed him away to save him. Instead of BJ being strangled by the whip, Lee-kyung becomes the victim. The whip was wrapped into his neck and he was pulled above. His skeleton doesn't want to let go of him and is holding tightly to his leg. BJ, on the other hand, was shocked that a person he called trash is the one who saved him. Io tossed Lee-kyung into the water, and Lee-kyung was already in the deep part while Lackey swam to chase him. He was coughing under the water until he felt that he couldn't breathe, and he thought that this would be the end of his life. He raised his hands as he was hoping that he could reach his skeleton's hands. But then, he was already in the very deep. He regretted that he would die without calling his mom one last time. A flash then appears and Lee-kyung falls into another room. He coughed once more and several notifications popped up. He earned an accomplishment as the first voyager, and for the first time, he truly felt that his life was in danger. He reached the goal and earned the title of the one who crossed the boundary. As per the system, he was immensely shocked and his HP greatly decreased. That's why he cannot be able to summon his servant Lackey. He was now confused since he was very sure that he fell into the lake a little while ago. He was in the middle of believing that he was dead, but then he doesn't feel like dead at all. He knows that he is still alive as he feels his body. Something was dropped and rolled to him, but he didn't notice it. He was still looking into his hand and he feels much better now. He was looking around but he didn't hear anything. He was clueless as he didn't know what to do. He believes he feels from above and he wonders how far he is from the entrance. He checks Lackey's status window, and at this time, 22 minutes and 41 seconds left before he can possibly summon Lackey. He was down as he was losing hope. He even regrets leaping forward without a plan. He comes with the idea that his teammates might be searching for him, so he stands and screams for his team, expecting that someone will answer him. But even with how loud he screamed, he didn't hear any response and only heard how silent the room was. He started to accept the fact that he should keep moving forward alone by himself. He opened his inventory and got the light stone. It contains magic that illuminates the surrounding area when activated. He didn't expect he would really have to use this. He tried to activate the stone but it couldn't, and in the end, it slipped from his hand and it tumbled on the ground. It kept bouncing and bouncing while he was chasing it. He was about to catch it, but there was a sword causing him to stumble and slide on the ground. He groaned as he felt like he was rolling all around. The stone was still rolling while it was shining brightly, and because of it, Lee-kyung saw a skeleton that was wearing a cloak. Lee-kyung shuffled upon seeing it. It was stabbed and he was confused if this corpse was being killed by the monster. He concludes that if he will stay in this place, he might die too. He immediately turned away and was planning to find a way out quickly. The system appeared and the notification made his eyes round. He received a new quest and it says that he found someone's body. The system gave him a hint that he should search the area. Something buzzing appeared and it created a barrier. Lee-kyung was inside of it and he believes that the quest he received is not optional but instead a mandatory quest. He fumbled and then paused as he didn't know what to do inside the barrier. He glanced into the corpse and he then deduced that he should search the corpse. The messages that pop up while they're in the dungeon are supposed to aid them in clearing the dungeon. Lee-kyung heard that there are all different sorts of messages, depending on the difficulty of a dungeon. But it's his first time seeing a mandatory one that isn't more of a suggestion. He stared at the corpse and even though he was scared to look at it, he decided to search for it as he believes that he cannot get out of this place if he will not search for this thing. He stepped closer to the skeleton and grabbed the weapon beside him. He was trembling in fear and he started poking the skeleton, hoping that it would not move. Since the skeleton didn't respond, he feels confident that it was not dangerous at all. He then noticed the crystal that was stabbed into the corpse and he was clueless of it. He was so scared that he didn't even notice instantly when he first saw the corpse. He was touching the crystal and was confused if this is an item. The system then notified and it said that Lee-kyung had met the conditions for the skill Vengeful Contract. By looking at it, Lee-kyung was very sure that a Vengeful Contract is a Necromancer skill that he can enter into a contract with a vengeful spirit nearby to gain control over it as a servant. Lee-kyung knows that nobody has ever been seen using it before, so Lee-kyung was thinking that the reason why he received this message is that by removing the crystal from the corpse body, he can enter into a contract with a super strong servant and will escape this place. Without hesitation, Lee-kyung grabbed the crystal without knowing what would happen next. But whatever it is, he was hoping that it will help him get out of this place. He closed his eyes as he was scared while pulling the crystal, and when he peeked, nothing happened and still, the room was quiet. He lifts up the crystal while waiting for something to happen. While he was kneeling, the corpse started to vanish and the crystal he was holding was creating a purple smoke that spread all over the room. A notification appeared that Lee-kyung met the condition for a vengeful summon. Another notification shows, replaying the last moment of the deceased. Lee-kyung was confused at this moment. He doesn't know what will happen and all he feels is being scared. He stands and observes the surroundings but he still doesn't see anything. The last message he received said it was going to replay something. His feet were trembling and he felt cold as he noticed something appeared. He jolted upon seeing several corpses in front of him and someone shouted retreat. Upon realizing that these people are dead, Lee-kyung flopped on the ground and concluded that the skeleton he saw in this place was killed here. He was full of questions about who killed these people, but then he heard a voice. He then turned at it and saw a lady stomping on a man's head. The man was coughing and he looked so weak. The lady is pressing his head and she said that 2 of the top 3 guilds in this country formed an alliance just to execute him. Yonhong getting an exclusive contract. Ridiculous. Did you think we would let that happen? The lady uttered. The man gasped and still managed to ask about who had the guts to leak such information. Someone then walked towards him. It was Baek Yeman, which made Lee-kyung shocked. Yeman stood in front of the man and his eyes were now wounded. Lee-kyung was waiting for Yeman's move as he was confused why Yeman was also here in this scene. I told you that it was dangerous to go deeper, Yeman said. Lee-kyung's eyes became big and he remembered Yeman's interview. He concludes that the thing he is experiencing right now is the tragedy of the tower spirits. Yeman said in his interview that he is the only priest in their party, but then he loses consciousness in the dungeon. Lee-kyung shuddered as he witnessed the scene. He was trembling while looking at Baek Yeman standing in front of him, and he comes up to the conclusion that everything Yeman said at his interview is just a lie. Suddenly, Lee-kyung's head hurt so much and someone's memory was recalled into his head. That's why I warned you before. I told you to live more humbly. The traitor's voice that Lee-kyung heard inside his head. He was looking at the people and corpses, trying to find the owner of this memory that suddenly got into his mind. How does it feel being stabbed in the back by your own teammate? Honorable Guild Master of Yonhong. The lady with red hair asked. Lee-kyung flinched and looked at the man that was stabbed. Their eyes then met together and he now realized that the memory was owned by Seo Dawon, the Yonhong Guild Master. After realizing it, the memory of the deceased Seo Dawon has ended. Lee-kyung was shaking while he was still in shock. He feels dizzy and he vomits on the ground. He questioned himself if it was just a dream, but then he feels that all of it is real. He felt so much pain and despair and he knows that this might be the vengeful spirit. He rises while thinking that the accident at the Tower of Spirits wasn't really an accident. The truth revolved around Baek Yeman's betrayal and the murders that were planned by this country's biggest guilds. Lee-kyung feels like he has gotten himself involved with something way over his head. He was startled when he heard someone talking. He turned around and saw a man and a lady inside the place. As the lady said, Yeman had a dream, that's why he was here, trying to double-check something. The lady was very confident that the murder they had done was already clean as she sprayed hydrochloric acid on everything in this area back then. When Lee-kyung stared at them, he confirmed that it was Baek Yeman together with Lim Jisoo. And upon hearing what Jisoo said, Lee-kyung comes to the conclusion that they really murdered Seo Dawon. Lee-kyung accidentally creates a noise as he is shocked to realize things. Yeman then paused and looked around. He continued walking and he told Jisoo that he senses someone in this place. Lee-kyung covered his mouth and did his best not to be heard by Yeman, or else he knew what would happen to him. Yeman walked closer to the pillar where he was hiding while holding a staff. At this moment, Lee-kyung trembled in fear. All of a sudden, Lee-kyung didn't hear any noise and he was confused that Yeman was still there. To his surprise, Yeman is already standing in front of him while raising his staff and swinging its sharp edge with killing intent. Lee-kyung was nervous as he thought that he'll gonna die this time. But in the end, Yeman only stabbed a rat that kept squeaking inside. Jisoo asked him if he found someone and he told the lady that he didn't. Jisoo then told him that he was just mistaken, but still, he really senses something off since the message for the first Voyager didn't pop up after he came here. He then turned around and followed the lady. Lee-kyung hears every step from them until he senses that they are already away. Lee-kyung was still trembling and he was confused why Yeman didn't see him if they already faced each other, and the only thing Yeman saw was the rat. Black smoke is swirling and someone asked Lee-kyung if he really wanted to know why Yeman didn't see him. He cringed in fear and he immediately stood and asked who was around. They can't see you, the mysterious voice answered, causing him to be rattled. In front of him is a man that was surrounded by a purple flame and is walking toward Lee-kyung. It was Seo Dawon. A golden light emerges and Seo Dawon is standing in the middle of it. Lee-kyung was clueless as to how it happened as he knew that Dawon was already dead a long time ago. Dawon is walking closer to Lee-kyung and according to him, this is the space where his soul was trapped. That's why it's very natural that he was here until now. He was slightly smiling while looking at Lee-kyung and Lee-kyung was still speechless. In any case, you don't really look like the type of a person who would have made it in here, Dawon uttered. He was still walking towards Lee-kyung and asked how Lee-kyung summoned him and how Lee-kyung looked into his own memories. A system notification popped up and at this time, Lee-kyung met the condition for a vengeful summon. Lee-kyung then answered that he was a necromancer who also didn't know what was going on. "Thank you for saving me, Mr. Seo Daewon," he suddenly said, but Daewon was dumbfounded. He doesn't know the reason why Lee-kyung is thanking him. Suddenly, the ground is shaking and Lee-kyung is unaware of what is happening. A portal then appeared in front of him and he instantly saw Yemin and Yisu. He was shocked to realize that these two people are still nearby. According to Daewon, Lee-kyung will be thrown back into this portal in a few minutes since this state cannot be maintained for very long. Lee-kyung doesn't go back while Yemin and Yisu are still there as he knows that it will be dangerous for him. But then, Daewon doesn't care about him. Lee-kyung was dumbfounded as he thought that Daewon is here to save him from these people. "Why would you think that?" Daewon asked. But Lee-kyung didn't know what to answer as he was already confused with everything. Daewon explained to him that he didn't bring Lee-kyung here to save him. According to him, the instinct of a vengeful spirit simply reacted to the urges of a necromancer. He doesn't know how dangerous it is out there, but for him, Lee-kyung is asking too much from a dead person. Lee-kyung is still kneeling and he realized a good way to force Daewon. Then, "Mr. Daewon, will you make a contract with me?" Lee-kyung asked, causing Daewon to pause and turn around at him. Regardless of the reason, if he was summoned into this space, he believes that Seo Daewon has a wish to fulfill. And he's a user who can help him achieve it. Seo Daewon was a powerful user when he was alive, so if they both enter into a contract, he believes that they can both get what they want. Daewon is staring at him with a serious look while Lee-kyung is waiting for his answer. He suddenly stumbled when Lee-kyung declined his offer. "But why?" "I'm a necromancer," Lee-kyung asked. And as per Daewon, he saw Lee-kyung's memories and he knows that Lee-kyung only wants vengeance. For him, even if he will enter a contract with Lee-kyung, nothing will change. He walked closer to Lee-kyung and told him that he was a weak necromancer. "I'm a necromancer. If I say that I'll help the spirit get his revenge, he'll obviously want to enter into a contract with me. Is that what you were thinking? How can a weakling like you help me to get my revenge?" Daewon asked. But Lee-kyung was shocked that Daewon could hear what was on his mind. He was doomed and he was pushing himself to at least say something. He recalled those times when everyone belittled him. He used to be called a loser. When he wanted to party with other people, they always ignored him for the reason that he was weak. There's nothing he can do but look at them walking away from him. "It's true that I'm weak, but it's not wrong for me to want to live, is it?" he answered. He started crying as he didn't want to die like this. All he ever wanted was to live like a normal life, just like everyone else. His tears were dripping and he promised Daewon that he would do everything for him if he agreed to have a contract. He was begging at this time, but he didn't care at all. "Please give me a chance," he said while sobbing. Daewon stared at him and suddenly grinned upon hearing what Lee-kyung said. Dawson's body started to vanish until it faded and only a purple flame left. He heard a rumbling and the flames surrounding him. He was strangled and there was a flower growing in front of him. The flower is blooming and inside of it is a skeleton. The petals started falling into his face until he clearly saw the skull. A notification popped up and finally, a vengeful contract was made. Until the condition of the contract goals agreed by both parties is met, a vengeful contract has the strongest binding force of any other contract. This contract takes precedence over any other kind of contract or relationship. If the contract is terminated due to non-fulfillment instead of the contract completed status, the party who caused the termination will be punished severely. The contract was floating in front of Lee-kyung. He was the master while Daewon will be his subordinate. The contract stated that the master will do anything within their limits to help achieve the subordinate's revenge. This agreement will automatically be terminated when the subordinate revenge is complete. The subordinate is responsible for protecting his master. However, the master cannot use the absolute order that is valid for use on regular servants on the subordinate. The master and subordinate do not share experiences. And lastly, a penalty will be imposed if the agreements are violated. Seo Daewon already signed the contract and he was ordering Lee-kyung to also sign it. Without hesitation, for him to save himself, he signed the contract immediately. A flash then appeared and the system informed him that he had entered into a vengeful contract. A new servant, Seo Daewon, has been added. After the confirmation, there was a little tattoo on his ring finger and it is a sign that he has a contract. Because of the contract, Lee-kyung's level has greatly increased after the success of the vengeful contract. Lee-kyung's vision becomes and the last thing he sees is the skull on the blooming flower. His body slumps as he loses consciousness. Even as his mind went black, Seo Daewon's memories kept rushing into his head. Memories from the moment Yeonhong was destroyed. He saw exactly what happened that day. Daewon is fighting against the Lich Lord together with his team. At this moment, there was a giant ball that slammed on the Lich Lord's head. A player with yellow hair then rushed to the lord and slashed it many times with the use of his double sword. After it, he was calling his teammate named Bang Yoonji, and Yoonji then rushed to the Lich Lord and ready herself to attack. The Lord has a brightening ball on its chest and Yoonji instantly attacks it and it crackles. Then Yoonji clicked her gun at the face of the Lich Lord and they saw that it exploded. The rocks crumbled and the players tried their best to avoid it. But then, they noticed something uninteresting. The Lich Lord is still completely alive and the system is notified that the Lord has been revived. A shield was slammed on the ground and it was owned by their companion named Alam. He was beside a robot and Alam concludes that there's no way for them to stop the Lich Lord from reviving. At this moment, Dawon remembered his teammate named Young Garam who asked his permission to search for the other rooms for a clue, and Yeeman also went with Garam as a support. The player with yellow hair is busy fighting with the skeleton and he was annoyed for missing a hit too much. While Dawon on the other side was confused about why Garam didn't come back yet. He checked his system inbox but he didn't see a message from Garam and from Yeeman either. Because of this, he's getting a bad feeling about them leaving, and he knows that something wrong is going on. The Lich Lord roared, but still, they continued fighting with the little skeletons. They're running out of time and energy, and the golem only has 4 minutes left until it stops. It gets aggroed, and as per Dawon, it would be a waste to just leave it there to tank damage. Dawon was thinking what they should do and he came up with the idea of detonating it. It will buy them time until the next revival. His companion was startled upon hearing it. But then, Dawon promised him that he will pay for the repairs without even knowing that it will take forever for his companion to rebuild it. The golem started walking towards the Lich Lord and Dawon's companion was feeling down. The self-detonation system is activated and a flash happens. It then explodes and all the skeletons, even the Lich Lord, die. The players covered their eyes until they didn't hear anything. Dawon received a message coming from Yeeman. He ordered Alam to keep an eye out for any bosses as he was focusing on the chat. Dawon asked Yeeman about their companion Garam, but as per Yeeman, Garam is badly injured. He said that Garam's eyes and arm are damaged and he's bleeding a lot. And the thing is that they cannot use their recovery skill since it's in cooldown. He requested an emergency escape and Dawon accepted it. The emergency escape is in progress and Dawon informs his other team that he will let Garam and Yeeman leave. It's 29% in progress and Dawon is willing to wait. But of course, he has a lot of confusion. While he was thinking, someone attacked him with an arrow and he was hit from behind, causing him to spit blood. Everyone was dumbfounded seeing him being attacked. He flopped on the ground and he dropped his staff on the ground. A lady is walking towards him. "Hey there, CO Dawon," she greeted. It was Yisu who betrayed him. Dawon's companion was shocked about what was going on. They wanted to rush at Dawon, but Yisu is together with his companion and is willing to kill them all. Yisu grabbed Dawon's head and she spoke near to Dawon's face. Yisu raised his head to show him the Red Dragon Guild, Opera, and even Master Workshop joined forces just to crush him. Yisu suddenly tossed him and stomped on his head. As per the lady, after completing the scenario in the Tower of Spirits, Yeonhong will be preferred for future high-end raid scenarios. Do you think we would sit back and watch when you went behind our backs like that? Oh, you look surprised that I knew about it, the lady said, and Dawon is looking at him full of hatred. At this point, Yeeman is stepping, going toward Dawon. When Yeeman was already in front of him, he was mad and he wanted to punch Yeeman, but he couldn't move his body. The escape is still in progress and is already at 48%. Dawon realized that Garam was betrayed by Yeeman. Yisu guffawed and reminded Dawon that she already warned him a long time ago. She said that she advises Dawon to be humble. "How does it feel getting stabbed in the back of your own teammate?" she uttered. His vision became vague, but he was still staring at Yeeman with anger. He was confused about what Yeeman wanted for him to resort to this. Yeeman abandoned the members who risked their lives with him, along with all of the benefits guaranteed to him as a member of Yeonhong. His mind is going blank and he is very sure that he cannot hear any answer anymore as he feels that he is going to die. A teardrop fell from Lee-kyung's eyes and he woke up in sadness. He rose and found himself in the place where he was first dropped from the water. He was sure that the scene he witnessed was not just a dream. Those were definitely CO Dawon's last memories from when he was alive. Yeeman's betrayal and meeting the end with his teammates. He sniffed and wiped off his tears. He also remembered entering into a contract with him, and he thought that it was only a dream. But then, Dawon is in front of him while smiling widely. He was startled and moved himself away from Dawon. "You're finally awake?" Dawon asked, and according to him, Lee-kyung slept for a long time. Lee-kyung saw the contract on his finger, but he doesn't remember what the sign means. As per Dawon, Lee-kyung suddenly fainted, and he thought that Lee-kyung might have forgotten some things from the shock. "You know about our contract?" Dawan said while raising his hand to show the tattoo on his ring finger. Lee-kyung then realized that the sign on their fingers is the sigil of the contract. He was a little bit annoyed that the sigil is located on both of their left fingers, and, now that he was looking at Dawan, he saw Dawan as a real alive person. Dawan is also younger than he thought. He was about to admit to himself that Dawan is a really handsome man, but Dawan suddenly slapped him. That's why he got back to his senses. He was confused about where Yemin and Jisoo, but Dawan told him that both of these traitors had left. Lee-kyung took a deep breath as he was now confident that no one could hurt him in this place. "I guess you saw me die?" Dawan instantly asked. He knew it since Lee-kyung summoned a vengeful spirit. He was troubled with the contract as he's not fond of this kind of relationship. He stands and tells Lee-kyung that they need to go. Lee-kyung was clueless, and Dawan then told him that they should find his other team members who died together with him. Dawan is heading the way until they arrive at the last place. Lee-kyung is holding a knife to cut his palm, and since it takes time for him to do it, Dawan offered some help. He rejected that offer as he knows that it will be painful if someone will do it for him, since he knows that it will hurt more if he will cut himself slowly. He inhaled and instantly slashed himself. A vengeful essence then appeared, and Dawan is the one holding it. According to him, his other team members should be sealed as vengeful spirits like the one he was holding, and he said that is the one that Lee-kyung is looking for. Lee-kyung raised his hand and told Dawan that he didn't see any vengeful essence on his way here other than Dawan's essence. But as per Dawan, there are certain conditions that have to be met in order for Lee-kyung to see all other dead teammates of Dawan, like being in the room where an essence is and sprinkling the blood of the summoner. "When you discovered me, it was quite a stroke of luck," he added. He believes that Lee-kyung has satisfied all of the conditions right after falling into Dawan's area. If he has to explain the principle, Lee-kyung's blood is the medium. The essence he was holding had faded. Then he remembered that Lee-kyung is a noob necromancer. He said it in front of Lee-kyung, causing Lee-kyung to be annoyed. "Anyway, the point is that we should find the essence of all my guild members before we leave," Dawan said. He believes that Lee-kyung's blood will revive Yeonhong. Lee-kyung becomes panicked, thinking that potions will not be enough to heal him if he has to keep bleeding like what he had done earlier. Dawan only smiled and told him that they didn't need that much blood. He's even confident that he was useful as he can cast a buffing skill to Lee-kyung. Lee-kyung was confused, but Dawan got something on his inventory and tossed it to Lee-kyung. For him, having 7 servants is better than 1. Lee-kyung then grips the knife and gets some blood on his finger. Persuaded by Dawan's offer, he agreed to search for the essences. And eventually, he got to the 6th and last one. Seo Dawan suggested the following method. First, smear a small amount of the blood to become a medium on the ground. Next, Seo Dawan will chant the spell. The spell is a buffing skill that amplifies the medium's effects, even with a small amount of blood. Then, they'll wait until the magic circle absorbs the blood. When he does it, he shudders as he feels like someone is licking him. He can remove his hands when the magic circle is about to close. Then, the vengeful essence will appear. As per the system, since Lee-kyung does not currently satisfy the prerequisites, he has obtained an unidentified vengeful essence. This is also an ingredient for a vengeful summons. While he was reading the information on the window, Dawan walked slowly at him and patted his head. Instead of being thrilled, Lee-kyung was annoyed once more. As for him, he looked like a kid if Dawan did it. Dawan asked Lee-kyung's age, and Lee-kyung answered that he was already 24 years old. Dawan was stunned knowing that Lee-kyung is 3 years older than him. But then, he remembered that Lee-kyung said that it's been a little over 3 years since he died, so he concluded both of them were the same age. "It's fine, you can talk comfortably to me," he said. He doesn't have any clue why Lee-kyung came to this place, so he informs Lee-kyung that it's dangerous for a noob to enter a hardcore dungeon. Lee-kyung then explained to him that he came here to get carried because he was a noob. Inside of him was irritated as he already explained it many times to Dawan. "You didn't sound as uncomfortable talking to me just now. We're the same age, you don't have to act so stiff." "Well, you can keep calling me Mr. Seo Dawan if you're that uncomfortable," Dawan proudly uttered and turned away. Lee-kyung was thrilled by what he said. He scratches his head and reminds Dawan that he never said he was uncomfortable. He was following every step of Dawan while thinking that Dawan had gotten more gentle after being revived. But he cannot even tell what Dawan is scheming. Meanwhile, Dawan crackles something that has several potions inside of it. Lee-kyung was amazed that Dawan finished it in just 0.01 seconds. A while ago, Dawan asked him why he needed to be carried, and he answered that he needed materials to enhance his skeleton, Lackey. Lee-kyung gathered all the materials, and he was very excited knowing that Dawan finished everything in just a single snap. After he recruited Seo Dawan, he leveled up 13 levels, and he's now currently level 55. At his normal speed, it would have taken at least half a year for him to get to this point. That's why he was very amazed right now at Dawon. After grabbing the materials, they move again and Lee-kyung is worried that Dawon may not be sure if they are heading the right way. Surprisingly, Lee-kyung saw BJ and his team. BJ and Lee-kyung were shocked that they saw each other. All they thought was that Lee-kyung died after he was dropped in the water. According to them, they tried to search for Lee-kyung but they couldn't locate him and Lee-kyung didn't even read the messages from them. Others of his team were thinking that he was so lucky since he didn't die. While BJ asked if he was hurt, Lee-kyung was thrilled since it's his first time seeing someone who was worried for him. "Did you guys go to the boss room?" Lee-kyung asked, and everyone was silent. BJ was sad to let him know that the boss was stolen from them. The boss in normal mode was defeated by a player named On Ju-sung together with 63 other players. While on the hardcore, as expected, Bi-eman defeated the boss together with 33 other raid parties. Lee-kyung was thinking that his team had lagged behind because they were looking for him. "So this is the guy who was supposed to carry you?" Dawon suddenly asked. He was observing BJ and he said that BJ doesn't look like he can be able to execute a Lich Lord even if he had gotten to it first. Lee-kyung panicked when Dawon said something bad in front of BJ, but still, Dawon continued to belittle BJ and even said that BJ carried a stupid weapon. Lee-kyung waves his hand and apologizes to BJ many times on behalf of Dawon. "He didn't mean it," he said, and BJ told him not to worry. "You don't have to be too bothered by that. Finders keepers, he got there first." BJ answered, which made Lee-kyung confused. He feels weird that BJ didn't get mad at what Dawon said. Dawon then told him to be quiet. "Did you get it now? You're the only one who can see me," Dawon uttered. Outside the tower, an announcement played in the building screen to inform everyone that starting from 6 p.m., they will air a live interview with the ranker Bi-eman who completed the Tower of Spirits on hardcore mode. The people were murmuring and were impressed by Yemen. At this time, Dawon and Lee-kyung already come out from the tower. Lee-kyung glanced into his phone and he was reading the article about Bi-eman clearing the hardcore mode of the Tower of Spirits. Even if he wants to look away, no matter where he goes, everyone is talking about it. "About your revenge. Where do you want to start?" he suddenly asked. And Dawon's plan is to find out first what Bi-eman earned by betraying him. And after he finds out, he will plan his revenge. Lee-kyung felt sad. Things are finally sinking into him. Since he is bound by the contract, he realized that he also has to fight Bi-eman now. And it's not just him, there's Lim Jisoo, and the Red Dragon and Opera Guilds too. They are all the people he never imagined facing before. He suddenly sighed and Dawon noticed that he kept doing it, so Dawon asked if there's something on his mind. "Nothing, I'm just tired." "Anyway, are you alright?" Lee-kyung answered. "Do you think it's weird that I look normal, even after being brought back from death?" Dawon answered. He also said that he's in a good mood since he finally back out in the hub. The air was also refreshing, which made him calm. Lee-kyung was just looking at him without saying any words. "I've already hit rock bottom once, so I just have to keep telling myself that there's nothing left but to rise back up. That's why I want you to play along," Dawon added. Lee-kyung clenched his fist and realized that Dawon is really not alright. Dawon raised his arm and said that up until now, everything that happened doesn't seem real to him, and that he doesn't have a reason but to accept the fact that he's already dead. He glanced at Lee-kyung and said that if he thinks about it for long, it will only give him a headache. He asked Lee-kyung to play along, but Lee-kyung felt that Dawon had drawn a line between them. Meanwhile, they arrived at Lee-kyung's house. He was living alone here and this is the first time he had a guest who come over. Dawon goes immediately to the salas and Lee-kyung was annoyed that Dawon gets to walk into his house with shoes on. Dawon turned on the TV and Lee-kyung also watched the news. It was timing for them because Bi-eman was interviewed again. At this time, Yemen acknowledges the help of his team for clearing the hardcore of the Tower of Spirits. Lee-kyung was walking towards Dawon and sat beside him. He was observing Dawon's calmness and was confused if Dawon was also mentally strong as he is skilled. He cannot imagine his own reaction if he's the one being murdered and will look at the face of his killer. By looking at Yemen on the TV, Dawon suddenly flinched. He noticed something to Yemen's hand. As per Yemen, the Tower of Spirits raid means a lot to him and he said to the broadcast that his current teammates were understanding and gave him their full support. "When I couldn't even think about a future after the incident in the Tower of Spirits, they gave me a reason to leave. That was how I was able to dream of a new beginning," Yemen said, and the interviewer asked him to introduce his new team. As per Yemen, his new team is called Hahi. He was hoping that everyone would welcome them in the near future. Dawon suddenly slumped his head and Lee-kyung immediately turned off the TV as he was worried that Dawon felt down. After watching Bi-eman in his interview, Dawon realized something. He now understands the reason why Bi-eman betrayed him. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you wish to have another part of this recap, please give us at least 2,000 likes. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Until next time.